Hi everybody, it's Marcy, and I'm ready to start on a Christmas file folder folio journal. But before I do that, I want to show you the tags that I ended up making. So I'm going to scoot this aside for a second. These are the two tags I had started, I believe, in my last video. And what I've done, because these tags have acrylic paint on them and I'd Mod Podged the napkin, I used a sheet of deli paper where I've got the wax side turned to the inside, and I just cut it down, stitched around it, stamped Merry Christmas on it just to make a simple pocket. But that will also, even though I tried to put some non-sticky on it, that will, with the wax being to the inside, that will help keep the acrylic and Mod Podge and all of that stuff from sticking to it. So my tags came out rather dark. My husband said they look very old-fashioned, but so I'd done the gel plate background, then I did some stamping on it and applied the napkin. If I had it to do all over again, I would have done a light, excuse me, whitewash over the background so that the napkin would have stood out a little more. Not to get rid of the color behind it, but just to push it back a little bit. So then I used some of my metallic wax and went around the edges. And I went over, since my napkin had some bumpies in it, I went over that a little bit. I figured if it was going to have the bumpies, instead of just looking messy, I'd try to draw it out a little bit and make it look like part of it. And then I used these little drawer labels. Partridge in a Pear Tree. I think on the video I had shown on one of them where I was actually peeling, where it said a partridge in a pear tree. I was peeling that off because I didn't like the way it laid down, so I ended up peeling it off of the other one as well, and then just added these little book plates where I'd printed it out. And just a little fabric tag pull. I added some file folder to the back of them where I'd spritzed some spray on it. And those are my tags. So those are ready to go out in the mail. And now on to my first file folder folio, and I think I probably will be making several of these for the Christmas season. For this one, I'm going to be using this 6x6 paper pad called Christmas Season by Maha Design. It's from Sweden. It's a 2018 collection, and I'm just going to flip through. It's got let's see, 36 sheets, 2 each of 18 double-sided. So I've just got one set here. So I'll just flip through those real quick so you can see them. They're really, most of them are really simple pages, or simple patterns, but I think this will do great for this folio. I love the stars of it. To me, are the 2 sheets that have the ladies on them. So I will be using those. Let's see, I guess I ought to be sure that this is actually in frame, huh? So see, very simple patterns, but I think that will be perfect for this. And I don't know that I'll be using all 18, Okay, and then we've got this sheet that has little bitty elements on it that I can either keep as a whole sheet or I can cut some of the little bitty elements out. And then we've got this sheet that has little bitty cards and a tag on it. Okay, so that's what I will be using for my scrapbook paper. Then I've got some red ticking that I'll be using, and these are, they're all the same. I printed out some of Artie Maze's red background pages. I'll put the link to this kit below. She has several background kits, and it's kind of a go-to for me when I need just background pages. So that's what I'm going to use that for my backgrounds. Then I've got 2 file folders. I will be using one, and well, actually, I might be able to get away with one. We'll see. I'll either need one and part of another, but I may be able to do it out of one. We'll see. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is set this aside. And these are craft colored file folders that I was able to get. I didn't even know such thing existed. And I saw Kara using some, and I went on a search, and I had to get some. Because I like the craft color so much better than the manila. Okay, so what I've done is I've just... The file folder, it has the center fold, but then it has the score lines. I just folded to the largest score line. And for me, that gives me a 3/4 inch spine. Okay? So, and actually I'm going to fold it flat for a minute now that I've done that. And I'm going to, my journal will be 4x6. So it's going to be a small purse-sized journal. But I'm going to want my cover to be, since my, think Marcy, think. Since my journal will be 4x6, I want my cover to be 6 1/4 by 4 1/4. So I'm going to take my file folder down at 6 1/4. Okay. And now I'm going to come in and I'm going to get rid of the curved edges. I want straight edges. So just like that. Put this away for a second. And get my scoreboard out. Okay, now if you've seen me do this before, you'll know that what I'm going to do is I'm going to flatten my hinge out. This will be my back hinge, but I've got the thing completely flattened. And I'm going to open it right in that corner. And I'm going to score at 4 1/4 inches. Okay. Then I'm going to flip it around and I'm going to fold it to the other hinge side. Or not hinge side, but spine side. So there's my spine. And now I'm going to fold it this way and put that right in the corner. And I'm going to score it at 4 1/4. Okay. Now, I'm going to fold these in and burnish them. These will fold to the inside of my cover. All right. So there is the basics of my cover, and I will be able to do this out of one file folder. So now what I'm going to do, the other half that I just cut off, I am going to pull my cutter back out. And again, I'm going to get rid of the funky edges. So that I've got straight edges to start with. Uh-oh. That one has a double. Yeah, I need to move that one in a little bit. Get rid of that double layer. Okay. So now, is that one going to be long enough? Yes, it will. So I'm going to cut one side at 6 1/4 again. Basically, I'm going to get rid of the spine part. Flip it over, and I'm going to cut the other side at 6 1/4. Okay. Now, I'm not going to put that completely away because I'll be using it again. What I want to do is I want to make a file folder tab. So on this one, I'm going to how do I want to do this? I think I'll make that a top tab. And I'm just using my We Are Memory Keepers tab punch board. And I'm going to make it a large tab. Okay, and let me go ahead and punch the other one since I've got it on this side, and then I'll cut everything down. And what I'll do is I'll turn it so that I've got on the front flap, I've got a top tab, and on the back flap, I've got a bottom tag. Can you tell that I'm actually thinking this through as I'm going along? Okay, now use this and cut off the excess. And do the same thing on this one. All right. So I'm done with that. Okay, and that will be the front. So I'm going to need to cut this down a good bit. And I want the whole thing. Where'd my ruler go? There it is. So probably at about 4 inches. So I'm going to line the tab up to the 4-inch mark and chop that. And I know it'll be a little difficult to see because it's color on color. Okay, so that'll work, but what I'm going to do now is, because I want the front part to be just a tiny bit shorter, is I'm going to come in and take maybe between 1/8 and 1/4 of an inch, maybe. I mean, just a teeny tiny strip off of that. So that way, and again, I know it's difficult to see, but now I've got my layers there. Okay. And then for this one, well, it's going to need to be about 4 inches as well, because that back cover is going to be the same. But I'll need to cut a good bit more off of this. So there's 4 inches. Boy, this is difficult to see. Why? That isn't going to be enough, is it? Maybe. We'll see. I don't think that's going to be enough. No. That looks a little better. Still not quite. Oh, because of the tab. How far is it from... This is what I should have done. How far is it from 3 1/4? So probably just over 3. That's better. Okay. See, if I'd thought that through in the first place, I wouldn't have had to make 1, 2, 3, 4 cuts. So, sorry about that. All right. Oh, maybe 5 cuts. Okay, so now I need my corner rounder, and I'm going to round the corners on this. And on the top part of the file folder. Okay, so then what I've got is that one will go in right there, and we'll have a file folder there. This one will go in right here, and we'll have a file folder there. And both of those will close up with room to go. Okay. Notice I'm not gluing anything yet. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take these background papers. And my daughter told me in my last file folder folio that I didn't fully explain why I use sort of neutralish background papers as my first layer. The reason is because oftentimes the first layer of background paper is going to get covered up. So I wouldn't necessarily, and of course she realized that after she had already used something really pretty. So the reason I use more neutral background papers is because they very well may get covered up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, you can see the inside of my cover because it has this on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply background papers here to my front cover, my front outside cover, my back outside cover, my front outside flap, my back outside flap. Don't need papers there. I'll add them to one or both sides of my file folder. File folder front and file folder back. And file folder front and file folder back. Now, I will be cutting the background pages for this panel and this panel, but I'm not going to glue them in yet. So, and what I like to do is let's do a quick measure on this front flap and I'll show you. It is 3 1/8 by 6 1/4. Yes. So I'll use this piece of scrapbook paper, 3 1/8 by 6 1/4. And I am going to take 1/4 of an inch all the way around. That way my craft file folder will still show. I will end up having 1/8 of an inch all the way around. So that means I will be cutting it to 2 7/8 by 6. And this one, I'm going to measure them both because, see, that one's right at 3 by 6 1/4. So I'll cut it at 2 3/4 by 6. All right, so grab one sheet of paper. So my first one I'm going to cut to 2 7/8. And my second one I'm going to cut at 2 3/4. And cut it at 6. And cut this one at 6. All right. Now, which one goes on which? They're just close enough. Okay, yes, I've got them correct. All right, now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and round those corners. Okay. And you know, me and inking, and I'm not going to have you watch me cover the whole thing. I just figured I would show you real quick how I'm going to do it, and then I will pause the video. All right. Now you can either glue this on, basically use any adhesive that you want. You can use double-sided tape. It's really entirely up to you how you glue these on. And I'm not going right up to the edge because I don't really want my glue to seep out. But if I've got a little bit that isn't stuck down quite well enough, I can always go back and add just a touch more glue. And I'm just going to eyeball. I'm actually going to, there. Having that white in there helps me see a little better on the craft on craft. All right. So there is my first panel glued down. And exactly what I've done here is what I'm going to do on all the panels that I've marked. And like I said, I will go ahead and cut the panels for this one and this one, but I'm not going to glue them down yet. Okay, everybody, I said I was going to get my panels glued down and then be back, but I didn't realize until I paused the video how long it was getting. So instead, what I'm going to say for today is I'm done for today. Don't want the video to get too long, so I will get the panels glued down, and then my next video will go on to the next step that I'm going to do. So until next time, I wish you all a wonderfully happy, crafty day, and I will see you all again very soon. Bye-bye.